what made it through with that.
And then I said, but that at the time you were still like, oh, and I'm like,
So what's this about?
Yeah, yeah, because it kind of coincides instead of waiting at the end.
All right.
Do that tomorrow.
Commissioner Starkey here.
I haven't seen her. Oh, here she is.
All right.
Doing good. Yeah, doing good, doing good. We'll get this thing rolling. Put on my goggles.
How are you doing, Catherine?
Full hours today. Yeah.
Okay. We've got to talk about the trails.
Yes, we do.
Not money.
I would enjoy doing that. I know
That's what
it's-
Attorney said, as long as we don't
it's
talk
hard to
about
ha-
money.
Right,
we
it's
can
hard to
work
have an
out our
uninterrupted
conflicts.
conversation sometimes, so sometimes we do that.
There's not gonna be enough seats for everybody.
Oh, they end up,
Yeah, I'm not sure where they're gonna put all.
is Oakley here?
Yeah.
Well, who else
So
is?
it's
Yeah, I
set,
see
so
it.
I don't know where everybody's gonna
He came with me,
Seth
he's here.
Oh, is
We
he?
can-
Okay. All right. We'll
We
get
can
him.
move over.
He's off
Make a little
politicking
time.
somewhere.
Yeah.
He's off politicking somewhere. He's got,
All right.
Let's find another chair.
Good morning, everyone. Let's go ahead and call this meeting to order for the MPO. Please note that this meeting is being broadcast, and a video of the meeting will be available after the meeting is concluded on the county's website. At this time, I ask all to please rise for the invocation and pledge of allegiance.
O merciful Creator, your hand is open wide to satisfy the needs of every living creature. Make us thankful for your loving providence, and grant that we, remembering the account that we must one day give, may be faithful stewards of your good gifts. Amen. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Madam Clerk, can we get call the roll, please?
Mayor Scott Black,
Here.
Councilman Len Smith, Mayor John Eric Huber,
Here.
Commissioner Ron Oakley,
Here.
Commissioner Seth Waitman,
Present.
Commissioner Catherine Starkey,
Here?
Commissioner Lisa Yeager,
Here.
Commissioner Jack Mariano,
Here.
Chairman Matt Murphy.
Here. All right, let's go ahead and go to call for public comment. Do we have anybody that'd like to speak? Everyone good? All right. All right, we're going to go for the approval of minutes.
Motion to approve the minutes?
Second.
Oh, I'm sorry, there was a correction that was needed. Right, it said that Lance, on the first set of minutes, it said that Lance wasn't here, and then it said he ran the meeting. So, it's either one or the other, so.
Redo that motion to approve with the amendment?
Well, which one is it?
That one was the April meeting. Yep.
So he did run the meeting?
Lance ran the meeting, I do believe he ran the meeting.
Yeah.
I wasn't here, so.
Yeah, I was not here either that month.
So it was calling him absent, so we need to then say that he was present at the meeting.
So motion to approve the minutes with Lance as present.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you. We're going to go on to our MPO Advisory Committee reports. Citizen Advisory Committee, Mr. Johnny Coors.
Good morning. Thank you. The Citizens Advisory Committee did meet at its regularly scheduled meeting on June the 5th, and that was at the One Stop Shop in Dade City, and that is the first round of committee meetings we have had at the One Stop Shop, so we appreciate their hospitality. It was a relatively short meeting by the CAC standards. The committee did review and unanimously recommend for approval all of the action items that you're going to see today. The item that generated the most discussion was the Suncoast Parkway PD&E, and you guys are also going to get to review that. There was good discussion from the committee about ensuring that the analysis of future traffic needs takes into consideration all of the growth along that corridor. So there was a good discussion regarding that. There were also several questions about the design alternatives for the interchange improvements, and you guys are also going to see that. And finally, there was some good discussions and questions about the connections to the multi-use paths to the Suncoast Parkway, and also some modifications to the Suncoast Trail, and just ensuring that those modifications and also the bike ped crossings are going to be designed as safely as possible. Are there any questions?
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next up is the Technical Advisory Committee, Ms. Cynthia Spidell. There.
Good morning, Cynthia Spidell. So on Wednesday, June 6th, the MPO Technical Advisory Committee held its regularly scheduled meeting. And in the light of the departure of our chairman, Clay Watkins, the TAC decided that the chairman position will default to the vice chair until we vote for a new chair in January 2025. So the action items that were presented were similar to what you just heard and included a presentation of the fiscal year 24 to 28 TIP amendment for the Florida Turnpike Enterprise Suncoast Parkway PD&E project, the final 2024 list of project priorities, and the final MPO fiscal year 2025 to 2029 TIP, and the 5-year public participation plan update. So the DOT gave a real thorough presentation on the Suncoast Parkway improvements, and so I just kind of wanted to go a little bit more in depth on what the TAC advised with respect to the presentation that I think you all are going to get as well. So critical items of importance to the TAC during this particular presentation were with respect to signalization and crosswalk improvements at the future Rangeland Boulevard interchange. So the TAC recommends that there be some critical coordination with county staff and engineering with respect to the location of the crosswalks and the signals. Some of the ideas that we brought up were moving the crosswalks a little farther away from where the exit and the entrances are, so to avoid conflicts between pedestrians, bicyclists, and the vehicles. And then also keeping the multi-use path on one side, the north side of the road. There's a little crosswalk that goes to the south and then back up to the north. So there was some concern that there might be some conflicts between vehicles and pedestrians and bicyclists as a result of directing the multi-use path across from north to south and then back up again. But you'll see that in your presentation. So, so we just wanted the DOT and the county engineering team and traffic ops teams to work closely together to work out those details. So, and with that, our next scheduled meeting is will be held on July 31st, and thank you very much.
Question.
Yes.
We're going to have a presentation on that?
Correct.
Because I'm just curious, everyone who lives then along that trail will have to cross the road to get to it.
Right.
In Astoria and, okay, but I'll see the presentation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee, Mr. Brian Michaels.
Good morning. Brian Michaels from BPAC. We had the same agenda items. We did not have a quorum, but all the items were approved by the members that were at that meeting. We particularly took interest in the Suncoast Parkway presentation. We had a fatality last year at the Ridge Road exit. And BPAC would like to suggest to add a W4-4AP. Traffic from the left does not stop at that intersection. We have literally thousands of people from other states and other countries that may assume that the car is going to stop when it's coming off that ramp. And those cars are going 50+ miles an hour off those ramps. So, and we really like the redesign. But that's not until 2030. So we would like to see if Suncoast and maybe traffic operations can introduce some safety features that were recommended to improve that intersection in the meantime before 2030, where it's actually going to get redesigned, and you'll see it in the presentation. That's all I have. Do you have any questions?
Anyone? All right. Thank you, sir. All right, we're going to move up our presentations before the action items.
Okay.
Presentation number 1 is Suncoast Parkway Project Development Environment Study Summary.
Hi, good morning. My name's Lisa Stone, and I'm with Kimley Horn, consultant to the Turnpike, and we've also got Turnpike staff today. We did get great feedback from the committees and would love to hear yours as well. So again, this is the Suncoast Parkway PD&E from south of Van Dyke Road to State Road 52, FPID 448068-2, or -1, sorry. So I'm going to go over the study overview first, and then we will talk about the typical sections proposed for the project, as well as the interchange modifications. We do have a study scheduled to present, as well as the alternatives public information meeting that we will be holding at the end of this month. So it begins at the Suncoast Parkway as a 16-mile PD&E. It begins just south of Van Dyke Road in Hillsborough County and ends at State Road 52 in Pasco County. There's 5 existing interchanges. We're really going to concentrate on the 3 that are within the county, as well as the proposed interchange at Rangeline Boulevard. So for the project development process, right now we're in phase 2 of that process, which is the PD&E study. Next, we'll have the design, followed by the right-of-way acquisition phase, and then construction. So during the PD&E study, we gather existing conditions. We also look at future traffic needs. In this case, we're forecasting out to the year 2050. We also use that information to develop our alternatives and evaluate the engineering and environmental effects as well. So like today, we are doing a lot of public and agency involvement, holding public meetings and getting input, and ultimately come up with study recommendations. So the 2050 traffic conditions has been evaluated. That's in draft form right now, which has helped us determine the main line capacity needs, as well as some of the interchange modifications and the new interchange at Rangeland. We're also taking into account the environmental effects of all of this. So as part of all PD&E studies, we have a purpose and need statement of why we are doing this PD&E. And the main one is to accommodate travel demands for 2050. Also, we're enhancing safety, improving travel time reliability, and also helping with the evacuation and emergency response. From our traffic analysis, this is what our needs show. So starting from the south, 6 lanes are needed right now from Van Dyke to State Road 54. 8 lanes will be needed by 2040. And then north of that, from 54 to Ridge Road, we'll need 6 lanes by 2030. And then from Ridge Road to State Road 52, we will need 6 lanes. So this is the typical section, the existing typical section from Van Dyke Road to north of State Road 54 on the top. As you can see, currently today, it's a 4-lane section. The right-of-way varies between 300 and 400 feet. One important thing I want to note is the Suncoast Trail begins at Lutz Lake Fern Road, just north of the county line. So the proposed typical section we're looking at is an 8-lane section. And then when we look at State Road 54 up to State Road 52, the existing section is also a 4-lane today. In the future, we're going to need 6 lanes, 3 lanes in each direction.
So the, excuse me,
That's
if
okay.
I may comment on that.
Sure.
Can you go back to that? So the
Sorry,
traffic
I
is
am not, I'm sorry, I need to.
there.
This one or the one before?
So on the existing and on the proposed, you're going closer to the trail? The traffic will be
For
closer to the
this one,
trail?
no, we are not. We are widening to the inside. The darker gray is widening. The light gray is existing.
Well, when I look at, well, what's the,
That's typical, though. We'll have, we have boards that will show exactly where it's going, but this is just typical for this area.
but it clearly looks closer in your drawing here. Am I missing something?
It's not exactly to scale. We can show you offline the boards that we will be presenting at the alternatives meeting, which shows all of the design.
And I get that, I mean, the road's very important. I just am curious how much closer the pavement will be to the trail. But it looks significantly closer.
Well, and for the most part, too, we are working within the existing right-of-way.
Yeah.
Very little right-of-way is needed. No relocations at all. So the interchange alternatives, as I mentioned, I'm going to focus on the ones in Pasco County. At State Road 54, Rangeland Boulevard, Ridge Road, and also State Road 52. So at State Road 54, we are looking at 2 alternatives.
Oh, wow.
The one on the left is a tight diamond interchange, and the one on the right is a diverging diamond interchange. So we will be presenting both of these. And note that we've got shared use paths going through both of these.
I literally saw a biker and a pedestrian crossing on the divergent diamond last week in Wesley Chapel. It's the first time I've ever seen anyone. It was very strange because they're in the middle of the traffic.
Yeah, I keep using this the wrong way.
I should say cyclists, not biker.
Yeah, I mean, you can see, where it is, well, it's kind of hard to see here, but again, you will be able to see it on the boards that we present, and we'll also be placing those on the project website. So here's the potential new Rangeland Boulevard interchange. As you can see here, we've got the planned Rangeland Boulevard going through there, as well as the shared use path shown in orange. And then the trail is magenta on the west side. These are the movements of the traffic for on and off in the blue. Note there is right-of-way needed here, almost 7 acres in the northeast corner for this interchange.
So the Suncoast Trail goes under, and we're going over, right? We're going over the Suncoast.
So the Rangeland Boulevard is going over Suncoast.
And do we own this right-of-way already? Do you have this right-of-way?
No, that is in a different phase. So right now, we're just in PD&E, but design, right-of-way, and construction will be funded. All of this is by future toll revenue, no tax dollars, so that still needs to be.
If you don't mind.
Programmed.
This upper left-hand corner, is that a DOT pond from when you built the Suncoast?
I am not
Because that was-
sure on that. I'm going to have to get back to you on that.
That was our property.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I think that was our property.
yeah, let me.
But I think some of that, the state kept for right-of-way. So I'm wondering if you don't already, at least on the left side.
Yeah, there may be some, again, I'll get back as far as the actual pond. That is within right-of-way, so I would assume so, but I don't want to say that, so. Anil?
Someone's coming in.
I can speak to this. I'm a project manager, Anil Sharma. So anything shown in yellow is that the additional right-of-way that we'll be needing, that Lisa mentioned about 7 acres shown in yellow. But
Okay.
other than that, will be constructed in DOT right-of-way. So
Nice.
the ramps on the northwest
good.
was currently owned by DOT and will be part of the DOT right-of-way.
That's
No
what I thought.
acquisition is needed. About the pond, it will be DOT pond commissioner.
Yeah,
Thank
okay.
And also, let's see, just to make sure you note that the trail is being modified as shown in magenta, and then the orange is the trail that will be constructed by the county. Here's the Ridge Road interchange modification, minor modifications here. You can see that the right turn lane southbound to westbound is being modified. This helps the trail crossing safety. And as you can see here, we are modifying the trail slightly as well. We're adding, excuse me, we're adding a second right turn lane from the northbound off-ramp to eastbound Ridge Road, as well as a second left turn lane onto Ridge Road from the, to the west, and an eastbound left turn lane also. As you can see here, the orange is the shared use path that is being proposed as well. For State Road 52, some minor modifications include a second right-hand turn lane from eastbound to southbound, as well as a second right turn lane from the northbound off-ramp to eastbound, and a third left turn lane to the west.
Commissioner?
Where is the bike ped overpass on this plan?
Again, so there are two different projects. We are all one DOT. This project is presenting all the PD&E study. The bike trail project is in design. And right now, currently, our team is collaborating, making sure the design is efficient. So yes, there is a trail bridge that's going on the west side to go over State Road 52. And we have coordinated with the team that will be accommodated at this location. It's a separate project, it's not shown, but we can continue showing the feature exhibit, Commissioner.
Okay, and I guess I should ask this question on both these intersections. As you know, and I'm sorry if I'm a broken record, sound like Commissioner Kemp sometimes. We didn't get any bike ped overpasses when you built the Suncoast like the other counties did. And so is there a possibility to get those put in here with costs, with the cost going to the Turnpike, just like the other counties did? Or are we that outlier still? Did I say that right?
I think you said it right, but I'm not sure they've got the answer for you.
For my fellow commissioners and our newest, Lisa, Hernando County's was paid for by the Turnpike Authority. Citrus County's was, Pinellas is not on the Sun Coast, but the other counties have had bike ped overpasses that are paid for not by the citizens, but we're having to pay for our own. So it's a thorn for me.
Yes, so Carol Scott, I'm with the Turnpike, and the one thing about Turnpike revenue, so, with, as the MPO, you see all the different boxes that the revenues, what they can fund, right? So with the Turnpike revenues, we fund our projects with Turnpike cash and also bonds. Well, because of that, we're required to expend our funds on projects that generate revenue. So we can include bicycle things like you said, the trail bridges in our projects, but it's only when we construct the revenue generating part of the project. So if we were to fund a crossing at 54 or 52, we would have to wait until we have the funding for the interchange modification.
So
that would definitely be a delay.
Okay. And so how did the other counties who have far less population than us and their roads are far less as busy as ours get theirs funded and ours didn't?
So the one at State Road 50, so that was in the original PD&E from the 80s. And so they looked at things like, number one, they looked at pedestrian refuges on the different roads, and 50 didn't have one at that time. They also looked at the traffic, and in the 80s, the road near Brooksville and that area was more heavily trafficked. So there was some analysis that
More than State Road 54?
yes, and yeah, because of just the development and how Brooksville had the city, and as far as 98, that crossing, I'm not sure for that reason. I think because it's a newer project, newer standards, the way that road curves, the way it hits when you go over, there's a curve and it's a higher speed road. It's rural, there's not a lot of development around there to slow traffic down. But that, of course, is just conjecture on my part. But the main point, though, is that when we funded that overpass, it was when we had the extension. So we had a revenue-generating project that we could fund the bridge with. So we can fund the bridge, but we're going to have to wait until we have funding for this, and we don't have.
Or we could loan you the money and you could slowly pay us back.
Bridge financing.
No, I'm serious. We can talk about it.
Mr. Chairman?
Commissioner?
So you've got 4 improvements going on here. Aren't they revenue generating?
Yes, and we are funded for PD&E. We don't have design funding, and we don't have construction funding yet. So that's where the delay would come. We look at our system every year. We look to add more projects every year, but we're pretty far away from funding this project.
I don't know, I think we should take another look. I'd rather even delay this to get that. It's a big chunk of money.
My other issue with all of this, too, is that we've had this money, and for our new members, we funded this in our last penny from Pasco. We've had this money for over 10 years. How long does anyone know? 10, 15 years? Ready to go? Because we've had some fatalities at that intersection. But because of all this talk about work there, we haven't been able to proceed. And so now what we planned for and what the costs were is much more. So I don't know who's responsible for picking up that delta since we've had to wait for a decade. So that's another issue I have.
Mr. Chairman, maybe we can write a letter to DOT, the governor, or whatever, but.
Why don't we go talk? Let's just go talk.
That's fine, but I mean, with the improvements that the other counties have got to the north of us, and we've got more traffic and creating more revenue for this whole thing, and I've got this path, which is a lot of homes right above it, which can connect to a lot of homes down to the south of 54, it would get used so much more. And even for the concourse we have right across the way, they could actually do some things as well to travel, but they can't really do a great bike thing when you can't get to it and make a safe cross.
Okay. Those are, and I know you've heard me say this many times, so I'm sorry. Well, we're going to try. We wouldn't be doing our job if we didn't try. Okay, sorry to interrupt, Ms. James.
Okay, I'll continue with
Okay.
just a few more slides. So as far as the PD&E goes, we'll be looking at environmental effects in the categories of social, cultural, natural, and physical, and we'll be documenting all of this in our draft documents. Here's our PD&E schedule. We started this project about this time last year. We've got, I'll tell you a little bit about the alternatives public information meeting we're holding the end of this month. Our hearing will be early next year, and then complete our study the middle of 2025. So we've got multiple ways to participate in the upcoming alternatives meeting. One is we hold a virtual online meeting, and that will be held Tuesday, June 25th at 5:30. You can go on our project website to sign up. Also, the in-person will be June 27th, Thursday, from 5:30 to 7:30. That's going to be held at the Hilton Garden Inn in Lutz, and that's right off of State Road 54. And then here's the project website at suncoastparkwaypde.com. All the meetings have the same exact information, and everything will be uploaded that we display to the project website. So here's the contact information. COC Fine is the MPO liaison for the Turnpike, and Anil Sharma is the project manager, consultant to Florida's Turnpike Enterprise, if you need anything. And for the DOT message of the month, they're focusing on motorcycle safety, so please be aware when you're out there driving. And with that, I'll take any questions.
I have a comment. I see the landscaping going in. I think that's at Suncoast and
52
Ridge
Suncoast.
or somewhere.
There's some
So,
landscape right
yeah,
there.
so thank you very much. We have one of the landscape projects occurring, so we appreciate that. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions?
Anyone?
On the rangeland connection, would that be tied in with the whatever you do on 54?
When you say tied in, do you mean with the trail or?
No, with the whatever you decide to do with the divergent diamond or the others.
So yeah, we would be connecting whichever alternative is chosen and recommended.
But is that one project or two projects? Because it's a little different since we're going over.
There's various segments, and I believe there's 4 segments, Anil, aren't there, in the future?
Yeah, Lisa is correct. Right now, we are in PD&E. Once the project goes in design and construction, depending, considering the length of the project, it will be segmented, probably in 4 different segments for design and construction. But right now, it's highly likely that 54 interchange and rangeland, potential new interchange at rangeland, will be part of one segment because of the vicinity of the area.
Here comes someone.
Just to
grouping up
clarify
back
too,
here.
so one key point to remember about rangeland is that we need to have rangeland constructed, funded and constructed by the
Yeah.
county first. So that's really the main trigger for the interchange. So we'll be able to move forward on that, when there's
I
progress on
think we're
rangeland.
taking action on that today. And, right, Tania? Yes. And for those of you who may remember, that will take 30% of the traffic off of that section of 54. So, right, thank you.
All right. Any other questions or comments?
Anyone? All right.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, we're going to bump back now to our action items. First one is the 2428 TIP amendment for the FTE for Suncoast Parkway Project Development Environmental Study. And that's Mr. Fine.
Good morning, board members. My name is Siasi Fine, and I am with the Florida's Turnpike Enterprise. So, on behalf of the Florida's Turnpike Enterprise, I am requesting a TIP amendment to include funds associated with the PD&E on the Suncoast Parkway from Van Dyke Road to in Hillsborough County to State Road 52 in Pasco County. So the amendment, that is for $22,484 in fiscal year 2024 and $1 million in fiscal year 2025. This TIP amendment will ensure that Pasco MPO's TIP and the department's work program are consistent. Of course, you heard the presentation about the project, but if there are any questions, I'll take those now.
Any questions, Raymond? All right, can I get a motion?
Move to approve?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next up, we got our final 2024 list of MPO priorities. Ms. Tania Gordon.
Good morning. There we go. So I will be reviewing the list, the 2024 list of priority projects. This is not new to the MPO board. We've reviewed it several times in multiple discussions over the last few months. As you all know, we have several projects prioritized. Let me look this way because I can't see anything. Several projects prioritized. Right now, the workflow, it's 52. We have all of 52 in the program section. We have gone for a mega grant, which will hopefully help us get it finished quicker. We'll hear word here hopefully shortly. That is a big, I think that will vastly help 52, like I said. We also have our overpasses programmed on State Road 52 over the Suncoast and over on State Road 54 as well. So we have some really key projects going on here. The biggest update I'd like to make, and I won't belabor this as we went over this several times, there was a discussion yesterday as it pertained to US 4154 and the construction date moving. As of right now, we've clarified that it is not, the construction date will not be moved. It is only the right-of-way that was moved from fiscal 25 to fiscal 28. So I just wanted to clarify that where they're acquiring right-of-way as they're moving along to the project to get to construction. So FDOT, there has been no construction date change at this time. The right-of-way was the only part of the project that was moved. So I wanted to provide clarity for that.
I have a question on that.
Yes.
Is this in our 5-year work plan?
Yes, it is. We're updating and adopting this to go
So
into.
54 and 41 is in the 5-year work plan?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
You got an answer, kind of.
Well,
All right, so the right-of-way is in the 5-year program. The construction funding is in our second 5 of our SIS. It is not in the 5-year work
okay,
program.
then I've been instructed to try and get it put back in today by,
Well, so the construction has never been in the 5-year work program.
well, I've been asked to put it in by someone from Tallahassee.
Okay, I mean, we would have to talk about that because I'd have to move something, I'd have to move several significant projects.
You can talk to him. You can let him know that.
Unless new money
But-
was brought in.
Right, exactly.
So I mean, but I guess what I'm saying is I can't move anything without moving something out. I don't have that budgetary authority to do that. So if I move that in, I have to move something equal out, which would be.
So Senator Hooper asked me to get this in the 5-year work plan.
And
and
so
then-
we can talk about that, but I think for today, with the tip today, you have the right-of-way is in the 5-year work program, the construction is it's in fiscal year 2031, 2030 is the construction date, the letting date. And so that is 1 year outside of our work, actually 2 years outside of our 5-year work program. The 5-year work program goes through 29.
It keeps sliding.
Yeah, I can tell you the
And now that he's a
construction-
Pasco resident, I
So the
talked to him yesterday, he
construction-
said, you put it in there and we'll find the
The
money.
2031 construction date was set in 2020. So the 2031, it's been there for 4 years. It has not moved.
Well, I remember when I got elected 12 years ago, we started having workshops on that intersection.
Well, so originally the construction should have been underway.
Yes.
And the reason why it hasn't been is because of decisions that were made to add and consider the viaduct on 54, to consider and add the tunnel on 4154 to consider. So I mean, these weren't standard project delays. You know, we were being asked by Pasco County to look at these different options and by the community to look at these different options. So I mean, I agree with you. If we would have stuck with the original plan, and we'd be building it right now. But based on those delays, this is where we are and where we've been since 2020. I mean, in 4 years, this has not moved. The right-of-way move from 25 to 28 was due to the fact that we're just now wrapping up the PD&E. I'm not ready to go out and spend money and buy right-of-way right now based on where we are completing the PD&E. The 28 is, we picked that year because that works for the construction year. In 28, I can go buy the right-of-way and I can hit my construction date. So the right-of-way moving from 25 to 28 is procedural, just because it helps us get to where we need to be to buy the right-of-way the day we need to buy it.
I'm just relaying the conversation I had.
Well, you're okay.
And I think we should do what he says, and then if there's a consequence like that, then we can work together. But that is what I was asked to do.
Yeah, I would never disagree with Senator Hooper, so just on the record, I would never disagree.
I know he's also
But I
trying
will
to
say,
fix
but
East
I
Lake
just-
Road.
Procedurally today, I'll just say, we have the tip today, and to try and remedy that today based on what you're doing would be very difficult. But as far as, working through it in the next budget cycle, that's a different story. So just so you know, I mean,
Understand.
it's good for today, and we'll work on it in the next
Right,
budget
right.
cycle.
That's right way.
All right, thank you.
Commissioner?
Did you have a question, Commissioner Lehman? I thought you had your hand up. I'm sorry.
I
Commissioner?
think Jack does.
Somebody had their hand up.
You had your hand up first, so if you want to go first, go ahead. This question was for Justin. So when you say projects you'd have to move, you would have, theoretically, if we were to advocate for 54 and 41 today, it would be a program project on this list that you're referring to that would have to be bumped?
So just because we're kind of living in the land of hypothetical at the moment. So
Yes.
depending on what year we're talking about moving. So right now, the construction is slated for fiscal year 2031, okay? So let's say the conversation was we want it in fiscal year 29. What we would have to do, because we have budgetary authority to a certain dollar amount that I have to balance, I would have to go into 2029 and move something out to get to that dollar amount.
Unless,
Unless you have money from somewhere.
Unless there was additional budget authority.
right.
And, but
So
that's what I'm saying,
what I've been
that's
told
a
to do.
hypothetical that.
It is a hypothetical.
Correct. So right now, I mean, that's where it would be. If I was just asked to move it into 2029 based on the rules of engagement I have now, I'd have to move something out.
Well, a compound, because I see on the program list for 2029, it's a US 19 pedestrian crossing. And I think for Pasco County, a solution of 41 and 54 is probably ranked.
Yeah, just remember it's dollar to dollar. So I'd have to find
Something else.
100 and, I think, whatever, 200 million, 190 million dollars worth of projects to move out of fiscal year 29 to move that in. And then I would have to balance.
So basically, all we need to do is find you some more money.
Yeah.
You find me more money and more budget, no problem.
Okay.
I just don't have that authority, so I can't say, yes, you can do that. I just don't have that budget authority.
We can work on that part.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I will not be mad if you get us more money and more budget to build a project.
Right.
I never will complain about that.
Commissioner Mariano?
So strategically, and this is very important that we do this, because we've seen the penalties that happen when you don't get something approved. Being that he's appropriations chair, what do you recommend we do to get his wishes?
Oh, you're putting Justin in a hot spot.
I would say to work with the senator on the proper solution. I would say this, I'll just say this, I will say this. The important thing there, and the secretary can kick me if he wants to. The important thing there is, obviously, we don't want to be in a situation where we're taking budget and just moving it from one project to the other, only because that circumvents the full process.
Right.
Now, on the flip side, if we're talking new budget, new funds,
I got the impression that's what we were talking about. Because we know we don't want to impact District 7, like,
and I'll tell you that, Senator Hooper knows that process.
yes,
So,
that's what he asked me to do, and that's what he said he was going to work on.
I have
Because
the full faith in Senator
he lives
Hooper.
here now, and no one will come visit him. And even I was contacted by commissioners in Pinellas County last week. I don't know why they were up here, but they're like, oh my God, 54, Commissioner, what are you doing? I said, we're going to talk about it at the TMA. But we've been banging this gong for a long time about 54 and 41. We have one road that goes east and west for most of the population of the county. We cannot let it sit out there for another 8 to 10 years.
And one thing I guarantee you is we keep plugging along on that. So we're about to transition into design, like, we're gonna keep working on it. So, whether anything happens today or tomorrow, we're gonna keep working on it. And if funding comes available, we will advance it.
I say, let's listen to Senator Hooper, and, we don't want to jeopardize any of our other big projects, like 52 or whatever, so we can have that discussion. Let's just see if he can work his magic and help. This is the Tampa Bay region. This is a CIS project. It's a hurricane evacuation project. It's important to the region. It's not just for our residents.
And I'll tell you too, that project, and this is a different conversation, and not to like hijack the tip list of priority conversation, but that also would be a really great mega grant project.
Yes, we talked about that.
So that's another just component. It would score really well as a mega grant with the fact that the railroad's there and everything. So, it's just another component.
And I had a conversation with Justin and Tanea yesterday about these mega grants, and he mentioned that, is it Hillsborough or Tampa is very successful in getting them, because they get all their delegation to sign on to them. And I think on the 52 grant that you put in last month, I think, for $100 million.
Bill Arrakis, right?
We have one. We have Bill Arrakis, the only one. We don't have Rubio. We don't have Scott. We don't have, isn't the congressman from Hernando on the transportation committee?
You've got me on that.
I think he is.
On the federal
So
side, you've got me.
I think, we need to rally the troops to help us get these, to be successful with these grants. And Jack, we just met with FTA when we were up in Washington, and we didn't know this one was coming. We didn't talk about this with them. So we want to, we want to be able to be smarter about how to help.
We will gladly partner on a mega project on 4154.
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause I think we all can agree, it's a problem now. I can't imagine 5, 6, 7 years down the road.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, and just,
huge.
so we all know, and I don't think anyone's disagreeing this fact, but the purpose and need, we saw we needed to do it back in like 2018. So, I would argue, we all agreed we needed to do something 5 years ago, so.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Alrighty, as we continue the list of priority projects, I would like to note that this year, the Pasco MPO has prioritized with Go Pasco to provide them one bus for their fleet, to help with their fleet, and also to do ADA bus stops, help with their ADA compliance on their bus stops. So we think it's a good thing to partner with our transit agency, even though we're sisters, or we're actually cousins, not sisters. We try to help each other out, and I think this is very important to have an updated fleet so we can provide the best transit and transportation in Pasco County. As we move through the list, we already have Rangeland highlighted here, which we need that connection as well. That is prioritized. And we also have Sun Lake, which is another big priority. We also moved Hernando County Line Road. It went up quite a bit. We still want to get that connection completed as well. Like I said, I don't want to belabor the list because we have went over this quite a few times, even up until yesterday, but I just wanted to do some of the highlights that we've been having conversations about throughout these last months. So if there's any questions, comments, or concerns, we'll take them now.
Mr. Chairman?
Commissioner?
So in Sun Lake, we talked yesterday about it, and when we talked, you mentioned to me that if we had asked for the right-of-way from a group, we could get the right-of-way, and then we could move forward on the road, maybe possibly quicker. Did you talk to the attorney's office about doing that? And
I did not have a chance yet, but we do have, sorry, this was a question, my apologies. I did not, but we do have one of our county attorneys with us. And Commissioner Mariano was asking for the Sun Lake, if we had the right-of-way where the Bexley Del Webb is, that it could be released within 60 to 90 days after request per the agreement.
That would actually have to be a question directed at Nikki. I'm assuming that she's assigned to that. I don't handle those matters.
Okay, not a problem. I will get with Nikki Spiritos, and I will confirm our conversation from previously.
Right, so if you would clarify for the board, all we need to do is ask
Correct.
for the right-of-way, we can get the right-of-way.
That is what I'm understanding.
Part of it, I think.
Partial.
County engineer showing up.
Good morning, MPO board members. Nick Uren, County Engineer. I believe what you're referring to is the portion of Sun Lake Boulevard north of Bud Bexley Parkway within the Bexley Village North development area.
Yeah, I think that's what the developer's given us.
South of Angeline, north of Bud Bexley Parkway.
Yeah.
The condition of approval that the county commission placed on the development approval for the Bexley Village North project requires us to place construction in our 5-year capital program in order to request the right-of-way to be conveyed to the county. As part of our capital budget, we are placing construction of that corridor in the 5-year county program. That's not the MPO's tip, that's the county's 5-year capital improvement program, so that we meet the precedent condition to be able to go to them and say, we're ready for you to give us the right-of-way. Once we have that budget adopted, we can go to them and say, let's start that 90-day clock. We'll give you the sketch and legal for the corridor. They give us the land, and we'll have what we need to go forth and in time, design and then construct the corridor, so we can have that continuity on Sun Lake Boulevard.
Is that in the budget we've got coming forward?
Not for this MPO board, but yes, for the county. Yeah, so
That's
for the
what,
members of
no,
the-
that's what I mean.
Yes, yeah,
for
it
the
is part of
county.
the county's 5-year capital improvement program. So it's not fiscal '25 budget, it is 5-year fiscal '25 through '29 capital.
What about rangeland? We have
Also
to move
included-
that into the
Also
5-year.
included in the county's 5-year capital improvement
Okay.
program.
But, well, don't we have to vote on that today?
Yes, and it's also in our list of priority projects because it is a trip.
The-
Okay.
Sorry.
So the MPO does not vote on the county's
Yeah.
5-year capital improvement program. That's a component of the budget that is presented to the county under county administrator's proposed budget to you. And my part in that is to create the 5-year capital improvement program with items like Rangeland Boulevard and Sun Lake Boulevard extension, and we are doing just that. But that is separate from the MPO planning process, which is working collaboratively with DOT to make sure that we allocate federal and state dollars to the projects that are of benefit to our community. Separate from that, the county is developing its own CIP, but Tania and I work in partnership to make sure that the funds that you secure from federal and state sources to build our county road network are utilized, and we're ready to spend them because we have the corresponding projects in our 5-year capital program, and we're ready to build them when the dollars are available.
Okay. All right, it's an important meeting today.
When you surprise us with appropriations, we do our best to catch up, but to the extent that we are successful, that we are all working in tandem with the list of priority projects, and we know that money is coming in future years, we are ready, we are aligning our efforts to be ready to spend
Yeah.
those dollars when they come.
And it's hard to go for grants or anything when it's not in your 5-year plan. I don't think
That's
you
right.
can, so.
Our 5-year plan is the documentation to those grant application agencies. So when we say to Federal Highway, we want you to give us mega funds, they say to us, is the local funding needed as match for that project included in your 5-year capital program? And by presenting these programs to the county commission and getting them adopted, we can say emphatically to them, yes, we are ready with our share of the money. Once we have your money, the project's a go.
Okay.
And to complicate things even more, we also have this, on Rangeland, we have this project on our Suncoast Transportation Planning Alliance, the TMA within that, which is Pinellas, Pasco, and Hillsborough. We've prioritized this project as well to go on that TRIP list, which is the Transportation Regional Incentive Program, to help get funds to support, like Nick said, we're working in tandem to make sure that federal and state funding is coming through. So that is also what we'll be voting on Friday at our regional Suncoast Transportation Planning Alliance. So it's quite a little bit of moving parts with the MPO for those that are new. We have multiple committees. This area is considered a transportation management area. So there's 3 MPOs that work together to provide regional long-range transportation products. Just so you guys get a little high-level glimpse. If we don't have any further questions or we want to have more conversation on any of the projects, it's open for discussion, or we can move to approve.
Mr. Chairman?
Any questions?
Yeah, I got a question.
Commissioner?
We talked also about the Bayou Trail
Correct.
connection. At one point, and this has been on the MPO list for different levels for over 25 years. If we're gonna ever make this thing move up, I think it's gonna take the city of Port Richey working with Catches, the Lowe's family, that own that strip of land along US 19. I think DOT's got part of the land. I know they said they didn't care about the park thing, it seemed. So if we're gonna make something happen, I think it's, the city's gotta get together if we're ever gonna elevate this thing up.
Yeah, and I had a conversation with Tania yesterday. We're going to start those conversations. There's a lot of things going on out in the city. That trail would be a huge benefit. So we're going to start those conversations and see where we get. And hopefully by the next year, we
Next
can
year,
move that up the priority.
Right, they'll be ready to have that conversation about the Cody
So,
River.
and it'd be fairly timely, I think, in a year. We'd be more apt to move on that.
All right.
Mr. Starkey?
And I see Grand Boulevard mixed-use path is on here, and the, David Engel, is he in here? No, he's in a meeting, I think. David and I went to Congress for New Urbanism in Cincinnati a couple weeks ago, and we got a lot of ideas. And we would like to suggest that Pasco County and City of Newport Richey go in together on a charrette for a big vision for Grand Boulevard, because I know you have part of it in your area, but we have a big part of it in ours. So we want to throw that out there and get that moving along, so.
Okay.
And I don't know if I have sunshine with you talking about it outside of here, so just in
Right.
case, I'm bringing it up now.
Well, it's on record, so now we know we have to do a
Okay.
charrette, right?
Any other questions?
Move approval.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you. All right. Okay,
Oh, wait a minute. I'm sorry. Did we move the 5441 into that 5-year work plan? I don't think there was a motion for that. No, we didn't. We only had PD&E, so we need to, did that motion include? I know, but I need the whole thing in there. We only have right-of-way in there. So would the motion maker?
You can't move it in there without money.
No, he's going to find it.
Yeah, no, and Justin, and they know a lot more of the details, but before we can even get to construction, we got to get through the design and the right-of-way. So we wouldn't be able to even start the construction within the 5 years. If you move the money to this project, we have to take it off other projects. We can't just say, add this, add this budget in there. We can't. It's not in our authority. It's not even in Senator Hooper's until it's enacted somehow through some legislation or through
Right.
an appropriation of some.
But we can work.
We would suggest that we look at working on this over the next year if you want to look for a way to find more money to bring in. But
My problem is he's
chances
only
are
in that
we'd have-
position for 2 years.
We'd probably have to take 52 and move it out.
I know that's been said, but, and we don't want to do that.
No.
But if we don't put it in there, then he doesn't have the opportunity to tell me what he's going to try and do. So,
Well, he can. I mean, you can look for additional budget authority and money.
he said
in
it
the
had to be
future.
in the 5-year work plan. That's what he told me. He's with
It is in the
Ben
5-year work
out of state
program
right now,
for
so I can't call him.
Okay, so maybe I can help out. So it's your number one priority in your tip, right? Is your number one priority. There's right-of-way funding and design funding inside the 5-year work program, MP&E. The construction funding will go through a next cycle, right? As soon as this is done, we move into the next cycle of programming. So we accept this, we transmit it to the feds in August, and then we roll right into the next programming cycle. I think what the senator's referring to is that FPID exists and it's in the program, which it is. So that then for them in the legislative cycle, if he wants to try and add budget, add funds in the next session, that project exists. There's a project that he can tag funds to that is an existing project in our 5-year work program, which it is. That FPID is active in our work program for both design and right-of-way. So adding construction funds is just a procedural thing if he adds the funding and the budget in the next legislative cycle.
Okay.
So it's an active project, it's a real project, we're working on it, that's generally the number one thing is, does the FPID exist, does the project exist, and is it top on your priority list, which it checks all of those boxes. It's the number one priority on your list, it's in the work program, and we're working on it.
If it wasn't in there at all, then
Different story.
you'd have to add it, but it's
You would
already
request.
in there. It's just, You're talking
Okay.
about
I'm
restructuring your
doing the
whole
right
TIF
thing.
if you do
I'm
that.
telling you what he asked me to do, so.
And I think you've checked those boxes, and now for him in the legislative cycle, it's adding budgets and funds to that. Because the only other option
Why are we
today-
waiting to 28 to buy that land when we know we need it?
So the only reason why it's in 28 is so we have to finish the PD&E, which we'll be done, let's say, March, April of next year, right? So then
That's 26, so why wait 2 more years?
So we have to start the design, because my thing is, I don't want to go buy anything out there that I don't need. And the only way for me to know what I need is I've got to put lines on the paper, actually design it to say, this is what I need, this is the size pond I need, things of that nature. Now, on the flip side, if there's a willing seller that comes along and says, hey, I own this corner parcel, you need my parcel based on your plan, we have the ability to go out and do advanced acquisition in any year if there's a property owner that approaches us. For us, what it is based on the current construction year, 28 makes sense based on the current construction year. Now, in the next legislative cycle, if Senator Hooper comes, and the legislature decides, hey, we're gonna add budget and funds to this project and bring the construction, let's say, into 29, then what we would do is shift that right-of-way forward, because we would need to acquire that right-of-way earlier to meet that date. Does that make sense? So the controlling date is the construction year, and everything kind of works off of that. If the construction moves forward, then I have to move everything forward.
All right,
So for
I
28
just,
works for the year that it's in now, and I'm not gonna buy right away next year anyway.
we just can't be, it just has to be done before the mid-2030s. I mean, all of our heads are gonna be chopped. It's,
But just for your sake, for today, with the TIF, what you're looking at today, what you're doing is everything you can do today. Make it the #1 priority. Keep the funding that you have in the TIP now for the design and the right-of-way, which you're working towards construction. And then when we start our programming cycle and then the legislature meets, later this year, early next year, then they can add budget and financial authority to do that, to
Okay.
move it in.
Yeah, that's
all
right.
right.
Because right now, we're balancing, right? So if you ask me today without any additional budgetary authority to add it in, I think that's what we're getting at, is I have to then move something out. On the flip side, when the legislature meets, if they add budget and financial authority to it, then you can move it in because you have the additional budget and financial authority to do it.
The last couple of years also, if you go back a few years, we had more flexibility within our program. The inflationary impacts that we've seen in the last few years has caused us, we're trying to plug holes as we're going along to keep the program moving. 52 is a good example. There was a time we thought we had to move it out, and then we're moving it back in because we found something else. We said we can hold off on this until a year later or 2 years later so we can keep this on track. So every time you make a big change, it's like what do you call that? Like a Jenga puzzle, whatever. Everything starts moving around, and then
Whack-a-mole.
Right, and we used to have contingencies that we could use and say, as we got later in the year, okay, we got contingencies available, we didn't use them, we can move them to something. Our contingencies are just, and I'm sure you're seeing it at the county too. The cost of what we thought it was gonna cost 2-3 years ago programming it compared to what it's actually costing us today is much higher than what we had anticipated. So what I can tell you is, we know it's the top priority. We're gonna do everything we can, and we'll work with the senator or anybody else that wants to help us to try to bring the money to the project. But doing it today and putting it in the TIP would just create a whole other, and it's not necessary, because it wouldn't change anything. We're still gonna do the same thing. And it'll allow Senator Hooper, whatever he may want to do what he wants to do, because it's in there.
All right, well, I'll call him when we're done.
Should we follow
Tell
up,
him.
as a body?
I hope I'm doing the right
Do
thing.
we follow up as a body with a letter to the senator?
No,
Wishing,
just-
no?
I'll talk to him,
To the MPO, okay.
yeah. Thanks. I just was doing what I was told, like a good soldier.
All right. So I guess we're done with that now. All right. All right, moving on to final MPO 2529 tip, Mr. Scott Ferry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good morning, Board.
Good morning.
In your packet is a copy of the final MPO fiscal year 25 through 2029 Transportation Improvement Program, or TIP, which I am presenting to you for your adoption. As you recall, the draft version of this document was presented to this board for review and discussion at last month's meeting. And this final version is essentially unchanged from that draft document. And the improvement project list that's contained in the final TIP is unchanged from the list included in the draft. By way of refresher, the MPO's Transportation Improvement Program reflects its short-term transportation improvement funding priorities and contains a description of a descriptive list of the transportation improvement projects funded for development by the Florida DOT and for the next 5 fiscal years using state and federal transportation funds. And adoption and maintenance of the TIP is mandatory for the continued receipt of federal funding for transportation improvements in Pasco County. So again, by clarification, this is not a planning document, this is a funding document. Are there any questions or comments about the final MPO TIP?
Any questions? Motion to approve?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right. New member appointment, MPO Technical Advisory Committee, Mr. Scott Ferry. Welcome back.
Thank you. Me again. The MPO staff recommends the approval of Mr. Panos Consis to serve as a regular member of the MPO's Technical Advisory Committee, representing the Pasco County Transportation Engineering Department. Mr. Consis is the Assistant County Engineer. The staff also recommends the approval of Mr. Corey Holycross to serve as an alternate member on the TAC, representing the City of Newport Richey as an alternate member. And Mr. Holycross is a staff member with the City of Newport Richey. Are there any questions?
Mr. Chair, move approval.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, next up, MPO Major Update, Public Participation Plan, 5-year update, Mr. Casey Kersey.
Good morning. My name is Casey Kersey, and I am a consultant with EXP Engineering Services. We're one of your general planning consultants. What you're doing today is I'm actually asking for a motion to put this, to link it to the website. We're not approving it today. The public participation plan is a federally required document for an MPO. And it's been my pleasure to work with Pasco over these years. The staff that's with you, they put it as a priority for public participation and to build a lot of relationships. Just in this year, we have been to Dade City, City of Zephyr Hills. I was there with Tammy with you. I've got your photo in the document, wearing a helmet. But it's just been a real pleasure to be with Pasco and how much they prioritize building relationships. Department of Transportation that's here is a great partner. We do a lot of helmet training out there at the DOT. And then we get the pleasure of meeting the communities. We just did a large one for District 7 at Al Lopez Park the other week. And so what we are doing today is it's just a refresh. We're not changing any of the goals. We're not changing any of the notification process. We're just giving a little facelift to the document from 2018. And everything that's in there you have seen before, and we'll be back to you in August with the completed document for that. So I need an action to link it for public comment.
Motion to approve the link.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right,
Opposed?
easiest one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Other business. Next MPO board meeting will be in Dade City on August 8th at 10 a.m. Anybody else have any other business or communications to talk about?
I have
Mr. Stark?
a couple. So I've been approached by the land use attorney that is dealing with the property at 54 in the Suncoast. I think it's well, I don't remember the name of the family right now. The northwest corner. They're coming in for development. Not with something we're all going to be thrilled about, sadly. Some kind of big box. But we had talked about the trailhead and the restrooms there, incorporating it with whatever development comes in there. So, Tino, I don't know where we are with that trailhead and possible relocation at Suncoast and 54. No, well, I'm talking about the trailhead at 54 in Suncoast that's there now on DOT property, I think, right? I thought we were going to try and move that back and integrate it with whatever development comes in there. That's what we talked about before. That's why we still have the portables there instead of a real toilet, those nasty portables.
Morning, MPO. Nick Uren, County Engineer.
You don't know anything about it.
So for context, we have the agreement with FDOT to design a pedestrian overpass for the Suncoast Trail. We are working on alternatives to accommodate that outcome that are not incompatible with the Turnpike's desire for modification to their interchange. Based on discussions today, we're probably going to end up having conversation with Turnpike staff about partnering and timing as to whether or not the pedestrian overpass can be constructed. I think what you're saying is we have an additional element to consider. There's a private sector entity that would like to develop around the Turnpike, around the DOT property, and if we can somehow incorporate that into the design for the overpass and the trailhead,
we've been talking about that for a number of years.
So, sure, we're happy to look at that as part of our alternatives evaluation for the overpass.
In the Suncoast, in the Turnpike's design, are they keeping the trailhead there that people used? Because I know you talked about putting a trailhead at Rangeland, but I don't know why a lot of people come from all over Tampa Bay to park there to ride the Suncoast, and I don't think I want to direct all those people through the preserve to go park north of there.
Anil Sharma back again. So at this point, our PD&E do not propose any impact to the trailhead at State Road 54 interchange.
Right, so we just have 2 outhouses there right now. We've been waiting to construct a real bathroom until we know what that design's going to look like. And so I don't know if we want to coordinate with that landowner that's coming in for development and try and get something better for everybody or keep it separate, but I just need to make sure we're all on the same page. Second, this is on 52. Thank you very much. And so we were able to secure a pedestrian underpass. Justin, do you want to speak on that one? Thank you.
Delivered the news. I'm not sure. No, at the preserve, it's Connor Preserve, right?
Connor Preserve.
Connor Preserve. So what we're looking at doing is, there was already going to be a wildlife crossing, so what we're doing is separating the wildlife crossing, extending that box culvert, and then having a pedestrian underpass there, so.
Yeah, so we need to make sure that we're getting that sidewalk, because I think it's only a sidewalk. We'll have to discuss that with SwiftMud on the south side, because right now there isn't one in your design, but we're working to put it in, right? Yep. In your design, to make sure that, we're connecting, because Keith has plans to take a multi-use trail from the south side of 52 at Connor Preserve, and that's where that mitigation land is as well, Jack, on the corner, all the way up to the land owned by Pinellas County that I can never remember the name of, Crossbar and Albar. So there's going to be a multi-use path going north there, and so this is going to be wonderful because they'll go under instead of having to spend millions of dollars going over, since we're under construction. So.
Yep, so we're just going to raise the profile of the road a little bit and take them under.
Isn't that good? I'm very excited about that.
Awesome.
That's a win-win for everybody. And then, of course, it gets them on the multi-use trail, gets anyone on the south side on the multi-use trail. It's on the north side of 52, because it's only a sidewalk on the south side.
Mr. Chair, in transporting Mr. Tyrone Lovett along State Road 52 to this meeting this morning. When we hit US 41 and it multi-laned all the way to the Suncoast Parkway, I think we saved almost 10 minutes getting here, and it was wonderful. And that happened since our last meeting. They were all, it was all open. There's a punch list apparently still underway, but it was all 6 lanes, and it really did help with our ability to get here this morning. So thank you, DOT. Thank you, everyone that was part of that widening, and as that continues further east toward Dade City, San Antonio, it's going to really help that trip be even more pleasant.
Yeah.
And timely. Thank you.
Commissioner?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I got a request for DOT if they could. On US 19, there's some unraveling going on up and down. I was approached the other day at a military venue, and a gentleman says, I need you to fix the roads in this area. I says, well, which one in particular are you talking about? He goes, US 19. So there are several patches that have gone away. I had another friend call me up. They drive along 54 corridor quite a bit, and without any big trucks in front of them, they've been, had 3 different cracked windshields in the family.
Oh,
So
I've got that too.
There's a lot of unraveling there as well, and I think we should try to address that quicker as opposed to later.
Yeah, we unfortunately, we're having that situation occur on a number of our roads, not just here in Pasco County, but throughout the whole state. And we're trying to get to the bottom of why some of this happened. It's happening with a certain type of pavement we use, open graded friction course. We use it on more your higher speed roads where you want the water to not be sitting on top of the road. We are going in and using our maintenance contracts to hit those patches where we can, and then we're advancing resurfacing projects on the projects where we have that. Yeah, we recognize it's an issue. We're working on it.
And I've said it many times before, and I know you're looking at it and working, it's going to be a long process through it, but for our roads, I would really like to see us, especially on this type of scenario, to use that spray deck technology, which puts down a clean base, unobstructed by trucks driving over it as they're carrying the tack along. And we've done it on a few different roads, and I think you've seen the testing, the coefficients look pretty strong, so if we can get that, I would like to see us do it. The cost is like 0.05% higher, but you get a much better bond.
Well, we have our folks looking at that. The problem isn't so much that we don't want to use it. The problem is that not that many contractors have that type of equipment to use it, and so it limits the number of competitors, and when you do that, it creates issues. And so we have to go in there and make sure we're not sole sourcing or we're not doing something that's proprietary that would result in unforeseen consequences in that regard. We typically will specify the standard, not the means and methods, and let the contractor propose the means and methods. But it's something we're looking at. We're looking to see if there's a way to implement some of that.
I know you are, and again, we talked about if we can control it on our own. I know the company that does it for us, they're our lowest bidder on the paving anyway, so it's not like we're going to pay more for it. I think we get a superior product.
Okay.
And I think it save you time and money down the road, too.
All right.
Thank you.
Anybody else have anything to talk about? I meant to mention earlier, but welcome, new Commissioner Yeager, to the MPO festivities. Welcome. Anyone else? Motion to adjourn? All right.
Second.
Directly into our lakes. Fish, rainwater. Most other discharges are please contact Pasco County Department of Public Works at 727-834-3611.
Hi, I'm Ainsley with Pasco County Pavement Management. People always ask, why can't you pave roads faster? Well, the process isn't as simple as it seems. We use two methods, which you can see here. They're called milling and paving and full depth reclamation and soil cement. What does that mean exactly? Let's break them down. 90% of our paving projects are done through milling and paving, which takes about 2 weeks, depending on weather and the length of the road. We start by grinding and removing 2 to 3 inches of the road, then we sweep the road to remove fines. Fines are small particles of asphalt or lime rock. Next, we spray tack, which is a mixture of oil and water, onto the road surface to make sure that the asphalt bonds to the road surface. Then we apply a layer or two of asphalt. Ever notice steam rising from the asphalt? That's because it's trucked to the worksite at a whopping 325 degrees or hotter. Next, we drive a steamroller over the asphalt to make sure the surface is flat and smooth. And that's it. Now, let's look at the second paving process Pasco uses, which usually takes a bit longer. Our geotechnician team drills into the roadway at the job site and takes samples to a lab to help us determine what mix to use. Then we create a mix to use on the road from materials we salvage from the pre-existing road. A machine grinds 10 inches into the road base, feeding all that material into a giant mixing machine, where it mixes with other ingredients before being spread onto the road. The surface has to be set for a few days, and then our team returns to the site to test the road's strength. If it gets 2 thumbs up, we grind 2 inches off the base, sweep the fines, and add the tack and lay the asphalt. So those are the 2 ways Pasco works to make your commute a whole lot smoother. Public Works inspectors are on every job site to make sure there are no bumps in the road, so to speak. We follow tough guidelines and high standards to keep our roads drivable for years to come. To learn more about Pasco County's paving process, please visit mypasco.net, and thank you for watching.
Attention all dogs and cats. Did you know you need a pet license to live in Pasco County? That's right. If you are 4 months or older, you need to be licensed. But don't worry, there are so many easy ways your owner can get your tag. You can purchase one from your local veterinarian. You can grab a tag online, order by mail, or schedule an appointment to visit Pasco County Animal Services. And getting a pet license is very simple. You only need 2 things to get it done: a current rabies vaccination and a small license fee. Still have questions? That's okay, we're here to help. For more on how to purchase your tag, what items you need to get one, and the fees, just have your owner visit mypasco.net/PAS.
Go Pasco and Pasco County Libraries are perfect partners, perfect place to buy your bus pass.
I'm very excited to introduce our newest library where you could buy bus passes. We listened to your request, and you can now buy your bus passes at the downtown Newport Richey Library.
It's very convenient to come from where I live to the library to pick up a bus pass. Before I would have to use 2 buses, and now I can use 1.
The Newport Richey Public Library acts as an information hub to the entire West Pasco community. We are thrilled to be able to offer the Go Pasco bus passes as an additional service for our community.
The bus passes that you could buy at the downtown Newport Richey Library are 31-day, regular and reduced, and the 20 ride. And don't forget, you can get your day passes on the bus. The partnership between Go Pasco and the Newport Richey Library downtown is a great, great partnership. We've wanted this for many years.
I just love Go Pasco.
Find your way to Pasco County Libraries with Go Pasco at gopasco.com.
I'm Hans with Pasco County Public Works. You'd be surprised with what ends up in our stormwater inlets. Besides the occasional gator, we find mattresses, bicycles, even shoes. How does it all get here? More on that later. First, it's time to clean up and clear out. Over time, stormwater inlets get clogged with sand, leaves, and grass clippings. Natural things.